geometry information. You see the address, city, road type, house number, postal code, and then you have a geometry type and geometry converter, and then it's together. There is a geometry object and in by default. So that's why this is one of the really spatial modeling, and then you can look for that one. This is the really Hibernate Spatial functionalities. If it's all the defined, I will look for close look this one already defined. This all the models and repository service and service implementation is clearly defined, and there's some utility functions. And even though here, if you look at here, this is the Spring Boot um, profiling. That's I will close look that one. I will show you how when detailed development is done. So if I go to the address registration, you can get the impression would look like. So you have address, it has all the attributes. It has a city name, road type is a primary, secondary roads, and then tertiary road, and then you have address type, permanent, and these all things together. So because this is the models that we define it here. So then we go to the registration, user registration forms. Exactly the models that I have it in the user registration form. There's a code operations there. So I think so there's a typing. No, there's no still not here. Maybe not the binding is not binding. I didn't did it yet, but I already did the font and how the font end look like. When my REST API getting ready, just I call it my REST API and build the functionality. That was the idea. How the font end works, how the REST API and backend server works. So exactly the same models. If you look at here, the user registrations, all the attribute is there, and it has a relationship with the user role, and then it has a geometry. Then that means where the user is located. That means this is the functionalities. That's all the definitions. And even though all the Hibernate mappings, JPA mappings, I mean that's one. I will talk today a little bit detail about the all sort of annotations, Spring Boot core annotation, data annotations, and bean annotations on the possibility how can you use it. That's the one of the big questions coming from the who are the very beginner students or beginner developer. They are asking me the last times to give it to them. There is some detailed discussion about the annotations level. So that's why I already prepare it, this annotation level. I will talk to a little bit later this part of the annotations. If I go there, so annotation level. So I already prepared the annotation level. I will talk to you a little bit later. This part of the screencast. So you see the student registration, the registration form, I didn't build it yet. This is the applications, the form I didn't complete it yet. But if you have the float information, there's a completed the float informations, all information as far those. This is microservice, the plot information microservice. So that means I have two microservice, the user registration process, and other microservice for the complete application, the content of the application. So plot informations, and this is the building models, building information, and this is the floor informations, and this is the unit informations, the complete models of the my applications. So look back this one, and so user registration forms, you see that they're exactly the same, CRUD operations, create, update, delete, and here is the building informations, and then you have the floor informations, exactly the same what we expected, and then this is the unit information, it info is works. That why I didn't build it here at the font end. This is very quickly. So this is one of the core application. You can hear like I just integrated what you liked, and then even though you can choose the your geometry type, and then even though you can build the points, I believe you can build the points also, and then even though you can build a circle also. So that's the idea. So even though I already did the completion of the translations, if I go to the translation part, you can switch the German part, German in English, and you can go to the Französisch, you see the changes, and even though you can go to the Bengali part. So all the part of the major part of your implementation, the font implementation is done just without any functionalities. That means when your REST API is getting ready, just you quickly integrate those functionalities with your REST API. Just call the REST API, build your operations. That is the idea for these applications. So I have this, some lot of some maps applications. If I go there, the map applications. Uh, so you see that the map applications. I already did some examples. How can you digitize the maps and build these map applications? And then even though the plot registrations, some plot is a little bit slower to the server because this is the behind the scene the geo server is running. So building registrations and the building registration and the flow registrations. Oops, this is the flow registrations and the respective flow. This I just like programmatical to build this one, and then this one and the completely geo applications from this is coming from the geo server. So this is one of the really critical part of the applications. There's a lot of data and we need to process those data into the geo server. So that means that a lot of geo functionalities is the way their applications, and that's why that I said this is the enterprise application come up with all together how it works, how the really enterprise application works with the geo and non-geo functionality. So you get the idea what I mean. That means when you have REST API ready, you all the services is ready, then you depending which endpoints, which front-end technology you are, doesn't matter in the REST API, REST and JavaScript API, JavaScript-based framework, the Angular or React, or other framework, jQuery, or I don't know, other framework of Bizum JS, these other frameworks, that you can integrate it, just call it, build your pages. That's the idea. So that means you REST APIs, when you REST API getting ready, it doesn't matter which front-end technology you are. So you can have a lot of possibility to come up together. So for other view technology, you can look for my channels, what you have, and then you can get a clear idea of what I mean. So this one. So let's have a look. Give it. So this is my jQuery, Angular, TypeScript, and Node.js based application. That's what you have saw here. This is the applications, and um, then then I will talk about this detailed application into this my screencast number. Maybe it is the Angular TypeScript based in the 45. You can go here. This is the Angular TypeScript based number. I think so. It is in the 34 dot something, and then this, you can look for this one. Yeah, 35.1 up to 30.45. You can close loop this one. The detail how can you start your Angular and TypeScript Node.js based applications? How can you inject the dependency? How can you build a different type of forms and template driven form or reactive driven forms, and then you all possible validations and navigations, and also the some CSS and HTML works. And most important part, your language translation. That's I already show you how that the translation works for different languages to support your applications. Even though this is already implemented, you can close loop this the screencast number 35.1 to 45. Still there is a many screencasts coming, but you can look for how you can start the front end technology to be built. Doesn't matter where you are, which front end technology you are. So then here, this is the structure that we already talk about this one. When my service is ready, you can use the Postman, and I will show you how you can globally set the Postman criteria. You see the Postman, the global settings, then you can export these test cases for the other user, other developer. They can, even though client can test it, this one. So this is the really professional systematic structure. How can build your REST API to test your server side in the mean Java part, JUnit test, and then at the end of the when you expose your REST APIs, and then how can you check in the Postman or SOAP UI or other or REST clients, doesn't matter which tool. I found the REST Postman is a really good tool for REST API testing. So all the tests, you can have it 100% test coverage, everything is there. So it's everything there. So you can build the applications and then all things. You see that already done those things, the examples. I will develop it. I will test it in server side. Then I will deploy the the applications, that is the APIs applications, and externally. That means this is the most important part you need to be learn to the Spring Boot profiling. So that means if you have a development application, these environments, and you have the 5 environment: development, production, QA, release, testing. That means you need to external the external command